There's a moment in your life, and maybe you felt it recently, when you look in the mirror and realize you don't fully recognize the person staring back at you. Not because your appearance has changed, but because you've been bending yourself into shapes to fit expectations that were never yours to begin with. You've become the one who always says yes to please, the one who edits your words mid-sentence to avoid judgment, the one who chooses silence over truth because it feels safer than being misunderstood. You move through life like a performer on stage, wondering when someone will finally clap, only to realize no one's even paying attention in the way you hoped. This is the trap, and it's more common than we like to admit. We live in a world where validation is a currency, where being liked often feels more urgent than being authentic. Social media magnifies this pressure tenfold. Every post, every caption, every filtered selfie carries a silent question behind it. Will they approve? And even when we say we don't care, our actions often say otherwise. But where did it start? Let's go back. Because this need to be liked, to be accepted, isn't just a modern dilemma, it's woven into the earliest chapters of your story. When you were a child, your survival depended on connection. You learned that when you were good, polite, obedient when you got the grades, won the trophy, said the right thing, you were praised. You felt loved. You felt seen. And so you repeated the pattern over and over again. Approval became a drug, and pleasing others became a habit. But here's the truth. No one told you as a child. There's no amount of approval that can replace knowing who you are. And now, as an adult, you're beginning to feel the cost of all those years trying to earn love through performance. It shows up quietly, in the pause before you post something honest, in the hesitation to pursue a dream that your family wouldn't understand, in the exhaustion that follows a day of pretending to be okay when you're not. You wonder why you feel drained, uninspired, or disconnected from yourself. It's because you've outsourced your worth. You've given the steering wheel of your life to everyone else, while you sit quietly in the passenger seat, hoping they'll drive you somewhere that feels like home. But they won't, because no one can define home for you. No one can hand you back your voice or your identity unless you're willing to take it. And that starts with recognizing the trap. There is enormous power in naming things. Once you say, "I've been living for others," you shine a light on a pattern that was once invisible. You can't break free from something you haven't acknowledged. So, take a breath, pause and reflect. How many decisions have you made out of fear of judgment? How often do you downplay your truth to fit in? Who have you been trying to please at the expense of your own peace? You might be thinking, "But I don't want to disappoint people." That's understandable. Disappointing others can feel like rejection, and rejection hurts. But here's a gentle truth. Every time you betray your own values to please someone else, you are disappointing yourself. And the relationship you have with yourself is the only one you're guaranteed to carry for a lifetime. So let me ask you, what's more painful in the long run, letting others down, or abandoning yourself day after day? The people who truly love you will adjust. The ones who expect you to shrink to keep them comfortable were never meant to hold your whole truth anyway. You are not here to be universally understood. You are not here to be easy for everyone to like. You are here to be true. And that truth might ruffle feathers. It might be messy. It might mean stepping away from certain roles or relationships that no longer reflect who you are becoming. But it will also be freeing. Because the moment you stop asking, "What will they think?" and start asking, "What do I think?" your life begins to shift. It doesn't happen all at once. Growth rarely does. But it starts with that first crack in the shell, that first whisper of honesty, that quiet rebellion where you choose yourself, even if your voice shakes. That's why this step is first. Before we can talk about confidence, wellness, style, or mindset, we need to come home to ourselves. We need to notice the ways we've left ourselves behind in the pursuit of external praise. We need to admit with compassion, not shame, that we've been living in a way that was never really ours. And then, we gently begin the work of returning to your own voice, your own desires, your own definition of enough. Because you are enough, not because someone else said so, not because you proved it, but because you exist. That's the foundation. That's the truth that no opinion can take away. So here's your reflection for today. Where in my life am I shrinking to fit into spaces that no longer align with me? What would it feel like to stop asking for permission and start giving it to myself? Write it down. Sit with it. Let it stir something in you. This isn't about being reckless or selfish. It's about being honest. And the honest version of you, however imperfect, however misunderstood, is far more powerful than any version of you designed to please everyone. Because the people who are meant for you won't need you to wear a mask. And you'll finally be able to breathe. There's a quiet heartbreak that comes from trying to be someone you're not, simply to be accepted. Maybe you felt it after saying yes when every part of you was screaming no. After smiling through a conversation that left you feeling small. After staying silent just to avoid conflict. It's the ache of performing for the sake of peace. The pain of being agreeable at the expense of being authentic. At the root of it all is a deep and almost universal fear. What will they think of me? We ask it so often, we barely notice anymore. It's become a default setting, a silent script we follow without questioning. Before you post something honest, before you speak up in that meeting, before you chase that unconventional dream, that question shows up. But today, we're going to gently dismantle it. Because here's the truth that changed everything for me and for many others walking the same path. You can never control what another person thinks about you, and you don't need to. Take a breath with that. Let it land. You can do everything right. You can be kind, thoughtful, polite, even agreeable to a fault, and still, someone will misunderstand you. Someone will judge you. Someone will write a story about you in their mind that you didn't authorize and can't correct. And you know what? That's not your responsibility. Let me say it again. You are not responsible for the stories in other people's heads. Let's imagine this visually. You're carrying a heavy bag on your back. Every comment, every sideways glance, every imagined judgment, each one adds a brick to that bag. You walk through life, hunched over, heavy, tired, and unsure why everything feels so hard. But here's what no one told you. You don't have to carry it. You can put the bag down. You can let go. Because those bricks, they were never yours to hold in the first place. Now, I know what you might be thinking. But I care. I can't just stop caring overnight. And that's fair. You're human. You have a heart. Caring about what others think doesn't make you weak. It makes you beautifully relational. It means you value connection. But here's the key. There's a difference between caring and carrying. You can care that others have thoughts and feelings without carrying their judgment as your truth. You can be kind without becoming small. You can be open without being defined by someone else's perception. That's the difference between awareness and attachment. And when you blur that line, your sense of self gets tangled in everyone else's opinions. You wake up one day realizing you've been living in reaction to how the world sees you, and not in response to how you see yourself. This is where Mel Robbins' let them theory becomes a turning point. It's simple, yet radical. When you feel the tension of being judged, misunderstood, or criticized, instead of reacting or trying to fix it, you say, let them. Let them judge. Let them gossip. Let them roll their eyes. Let them misunderstand. Let them believe what they choose to believe, because what they think is theirs, to carry, not yours. Let them think what they want. Let me stay rooted in who I am. This short mantra creates space between you and the noise. It's the pause between stimulus and response. It's a reclaiming of your emotional sovereignty. Think about how much energy you've spent trying to manage the perceptions of others. How many dreams have you postponed because you were afraid of being criticized? How many times have you watered down your truth to appear more likable? And what does it cost you? For Chrissy Teigen, as she shared with Mel, it cost her peace. She spent years performing, trying to prove she was good, worthy, lovable. Despite the success, the family, the Akaladeshi, still felt misunderstood, still trapped in fear of public opinion. And here's the thing, she's not alone. Fame doesn't protect anyone from that fear. Neither does success, wealth, or even love. Because that fear doesn't live outside. It lives inside. It's a belief that your worth depends on being seen a certain way. And the only way to unlearn it is to stop chasing validation where it doesn't live. You can't silence every critic. You can't preempt every misunderstanding. You can't choreograph the thoughts of strangers, coworkers, or even loved ones. But you can stop letting their thoughts live rent-free in your head. You are not obligated to shrink so that someone else feels more comfortable. You are not required to explain your whole soul to be respected. The people who matter won't need the performance. The people who are meant for you will feel your truth, even if they don't always understand it. And the ones who misunderstand you, let them. Now let's be clear. This doesn't mean you stop listening to feedback or stop caring about growth. It means you stop letting fear of being misunderstood drive your decisions. Because fear will always ask you to hide. But truth will ask you to stand. So today, I invite you to lay down that heavy bag, to stop trying to be everyone's version of good, and start being your own version of real. Ask yourself, who am I afraid to disappoint? What opinions have I given too much weight in my life? What would I do today if I stopped asking for permission? Write your answers, reflect on them, and the next time that anxious voice arises, whisper back. Let them think, let them talk, let them leave. I know who I am, and that is enough. Because the truth is, the more you allow others to think what they think, the more you free yourself to become who you truly are. That is the paradox of freedom. It doesn't begin when the world accepts you. It begins when you accept that the world doesn't have to. Before you can walk tall in the world, you have to come home to the body that carries you. This body, your body, has witnessed every moment of your life. It's held you through your fears, your hopes, your failures, and your resilience. But how often have you treated it with the respect it deserves? We talk a lot about confidence, self-worth, inner strength. But the truth is, your relationship with your body often sets the tone for how you feel about your entire self. That's why the journey to becoming who you truly are must include this crucial step: physical self-care as an act of self-respect. Because when you take care of your body, you're not just improving your appearance or energy levels. You're sending a powerful message to your subconscious. I am worth caring for. Let's be honest. Most of us know what we should do. We know we should move our bodies more, eat cleaner, sleep deeper, hydrate better. But we often approach these habits with guilt, shame, or punishment. I have to work out because I'm not good enough. I need to lose weight because I hate how I look. I deserve pain because I've been lazy. But what if we shifted that narrative? What if, instead of punishing your body, you decided to nourish it? To treat it like a sacred vessel, not a project to fix. Because the truth is, when you neglect your body, you're not just tired or sluggish. You slowly begin to detach from yourself. You lose vitality, and with it, the fire that drives you forward. Imagine this. You wake up, and the first thing you do is drink a glass of water. You stretch, feel your muscles awaken. You move, maybe it's a walk, a dance, a workout. You eat something whole and nourishing. You take a shower and tend to your skin. Not to impress others, but to remind yourself, I'm here, I matter. This is not vanity. This is presence. This is power. When you begin to feel better physically, your mind follows. Your thoughts sharpen. Your energy lifts. You begin to look in the mirror with softer eyes, not because your body changed overnight, but because you changed how you see it. You began showing up for yourself in small ways. And those small ways added up. Confidence doesn't come from perfection. It comes from consistency, from rituals of care that say, I will not abandon myself today. So where do you begin? Start small. Choose one area of physical care that's been neglected and make a promise. Maybe it's walking every day for 10 minutes, not to burn calories, but to feel your breath again. Maybe it's going to bed 30 minutes earlier and leaving your phone outside the room. Maybe it's switching one processed meal a day for something fresh, something alive. Maybe it's looking in the mirror each morning and saying, you are enough, right here, right now. It's not about doing everything. It's about doing something consistently, compassionately, courageously. Because you can't pour from an empty vessel. You can't speak your truth if your voice is buried under exhaustion. You can't stand tall if you're disconnected from the foundation you're standing on. So, return to your body. Let it become your ally again. Not a battlefield, not a burden, not a performance, but a home. A home where confidence begins not from what others see, but from what you feel when you move, breathe, nourish, and honor yourself. And maybe, just maybe, you'll start to notice something magical. You'll walk into a room differently. You'll speak with more steadiness. You'll smile with less fear. Because when you treat your body like it matters, you begin to believe you matter too. If your body is the house you live in, then your thoughts are the voice echoing in its halls. And for many of us, that voice is cruel. It doesn't speak like a friend. It criticizes, doubts, and repeats words we heard long ago, words that weren't ours to carry but somehow stuck. You're not good enough. You're lazy. You're too much. You'll never get it right. Sound familiar? That's your inner critic. And left unchecked, it becomes the single most powerful force, keeping you from living as your authentic self. Because no matter how much you care for your body, no matter how much others admire you, if your inner dialogue is toxic, you'll always feel hollow inside. That's why this part of the journey is not about what the world sees. It's about what you say to yourself when no one else is listening. Confidence isn't the absence of doubt. It's learning how to speak to yourself with compassion, especially in the moments when you feel unworthy. So how do you begin? Step 1. Awareness. Start noticing the voice. Observe it like a curious witness. When you make a mistake, how do you speak to yourself? When you look in the mirror, what's the first thought that shows up? When you fall short of your goals, what story do you tell? Write these things down, name the voice. Because when you name the pattern, you take away its power. Step 2. Interrupt the cycle. That voice isn't the truth. It's a recording, a broken one. So begin replacing it with something softer, more truthful. You don't have to jump to, I love myself. That may feel too far away at first. Start with, I'm learning to be kind to myself. I am trying, and that is enough. I may not be perfect, but I am still worthy of love. Speak these words out loud. Write them. Whisper them when no one's around. Let them take root. And over time, the old voice sharp and cold will fade into the background, replaced by a new one. Gentle, wise, steady. A voice that reminds you, you are not your mistakes. You are not behind. You are healing, growing, becoming. But healing your inner voice isn't just about affirmations. It's also about boundaries. Sometimes that critical voice was planted by people who still have access to your life. Maybe it's the friend who always makes backhanded comments, the parent who never stopped criticizing, the partner who diminishes your dreams. And if you don't set boundaries, their voice becomes your inner voice. So ask yourself, who makes me feel small? Who drains my peace? Who critiques instead of supports? And then take courageous action. Create distance. Say no. Choose silence. Protect your energy like your life depends on it, because in many ways, it does. Self-love isn't soft. It's strong. It says, I won't let anything or any including myself stand between me and my healing. And here's the most beautiful part. As your inner voice begins to shift, so does everything else. You begin to feel safer in your own mind. You begin to trust your own choices. You begin to believe, maybe for the first time, that you are worthy not someday, not if you fix yourself, but now, right here, right now. So, let's pause and reflect. What is one kind phrase I can start saying to myself each day? What boundary do I need to set to protect my peace? You don't need to get it perfect. You just need to get started. Because every kind word you speak to yourself is a brick in the foundation of a new identity. Not the person you were taught to be, but the person you've always been, underneath all the noise. The real you. The whole you. The one worth showing up for. Up next, in Part 5, we'll explore the power of self-expression, how style, creativity, and the way you show up externally can reshape how you feel about yourself internally. Because sometimes, the outer becomes a doorway back into your soul. There's a quiet revolution waiting in your closet. In the drawer of colors you haven't dared to wear. In the bold lip you only wear at home. In the jacket that makes you feel powerful but also too much. In the jewelry you bought but never wore, because someone might think you're trying too hard. Style is not about fashion. It's not about trends or approval or fitting in. Style is about embodiment. It's about standing in front of the world and saying without a word, "This is who I am," and I'm not asking for permission. But for so many of us, our wardrobe becomes another place we shrink. We dress to disappear. We mute our colors. We play it safe. Why? Because we've internalized the message. Don't draw too much attention. Don't be too bold. Don't stand out. But here's what they never told you. Your self-expression is one of the purest paths to self-liberation. Because when you choose how you show up intentionally, creatively, unapologetically, you begin to reclaim pieces of yourself that were buried under other people's expectations. Think about this. How do you dress when you feel your best? What do you wear when no one's watching? What parts of yourself feel most alive when you choose authenticity over approval? Sometimes healing begins with the simplest act, wearing something that feels like you, even if it feels unfamiliar at first. Because it's not really unfamiliar. It's just that the real you hasn't had much room to breathe. And this isn't just about clothing. It's about voice. It's about how you speak, how you move, how you decorate your home, how you walk into a room. Self-expression is your soul saying, "I'm ready to be seen." Now let's be honest. That's terrifying at first. You'll worry what people will say. You'll overthink the outfit. You'll doubt whether you're pulling it off. But what you're really questioning is your right to be fully visible. And you have that right. The way you choose to present yourself can become a mirror not of who the world wants you to be, but of who you are becoming. So let this be your invitation. Try something new. A color, a hairstyle, a scent. Ask, what would the most confident version of me wear today? Don't dress for trends. Dress for transformation. Because when you dress in alignment with who you are, who you want to be, your reflection begins to match your intention. You start walking differently. You take up more space. You stop hiding. And it's not because the outfit made you worthy. It's because it reminded you that you already are. So open the drawer, wear the thing. Let them look. Let them wonder why you're suddenly glowing. And smile to yourself knowing you didn't change for them. You came home to you. There's a version of you you've dreamed of becoming. She walks with purpose. She speaks clearly and calmly. She knows when to say no. She doesn't shrink to make others comfortable. She glows not because life is easy, but because she is aligned. And the truth is, she's not as far away as you think. The only thing standing between you now and her is belief. And belief isn't built in theory. It's built in action. That's where this next practice comes in. One of the most underrated tools in transformation. Acting as if. Now, let's clarify something. This isn't about faking it to impress anyone. This is about embodying the energy of the person you're becoming before you feel fully ready. Because readiness rarely comes first. Action does. It's like building a bridge across a canyon. You don't wait for the other side to come closer. You lay one plank at a time. And the first plank is often a decision to behave differently, even if your inner critic is still whispering doubts. Let me give you an example. Let's say you've been struggling with self-doubt. You're invited to speak in a meeting, and everything inside you wants to shrink. But you pause, you breathe, and you ask, how would my future self respond here? She'd sit up, speak clearly, share her thoughts. So you mimic that, even if your voice shakes, even if your heart pounds. That is power, not perfection, but presence. Each time you show up as if you already are her, something begins to shift inside you. Your brain starts building new patterns. Your nervous system begins to recalibrate. Your energy changes. People notice. You begin to realize that confidence isn't waiting for you on some far-off day when you're finally fixed. Confidence is born in the moment you dare to show up differently. So how do you begin? Start simple. Make a list. Who is the future version of me I admire? How does she move? How does she speak? How does she respond to challenges? What boundaries does she keep? Then, choose one small behavior each day to practice as if you already are her. You're not pretending. You're remembering. You're rehearsing a truth that's always been inside you but buried beneath fear, habit, and hesitation. Let's return to that version of you. She isn't perfect. She still has doubts. She still makes mistakes. But she doesn't live from fear. She lives from clarity. She doesn't perform. She embodies. And that energy is magnetic not because she's loud or flashy, but because she's aligned. So here's your reflection today. In what area of my life am I waiting for permission to change? What would I do differently today if I truly believed I was already enough? Write it down. Feel it in your body. Then, the next time you're faced with a choice, pause and ask, what would she do? And do it. Not for the applause, not for the approval, but because each time you act in alignment with your future self, you shorten the distance between dreaming and becoming. Because you're not here to keep rehearsing your limitations. You're here to live your transformation. And you don't have to wait another day to begin. Imagine this. You walk into a room and people whisper. Someone raises an eyebrow. A friend doesn't text back. A stranger comments online. You feel misunderstood again. And just like that, your mind spirals. What did they mean by that? Did I do something wrong? Are they upset? Should I explain? Should I fix it? You're exhausted before the conversation even begins. This is the invisible trap so many of us fall into, trying to manage what others think, feel, or say about us. It's a form of emotional contortion. You twist and shrink, edit and accommodate, all in hopes that you'll finally be perceived the right way. But here's the truth you've been waiting to hear. You are not responsible for other people's narratives. You can't control their assumptions. You can't guarantee they'll see your heart. You can't shape their perceptions like clay. And trying to do so, it costs you your peace. This is where the let them theory becomes your sword and your shield. Let them think you're too much. Let them say what they say. Let them misunderstand you. Let them distance themselves. Let them be disappointed. Let them have their reactions, their beliefs, their opinions, because they will. No matter how carefully you speak, how generously you show up, how flawlessly you perform, someone will still choose their own story over your truth. And when they do, your power lies not in changing their mind, but in this quiet, radical act. Letting them. Let them be wrong about you. Let them walk away. Let them think what they think. Because every moment you spend trying to fix, convince, or explain is a moment lost from living in your own truth. And here's where the shift deepens. Let me speak my truth, even if my voice shakes. Let me honor my peace, even if it disappoints others. Let me choose boundaries, even when it's uncomfortable. Let me stay rooted in who I am, no matter how someone else responds. Let me is where the power comes home. It's the moment you return to what's yours. Your thoughts, your choices, your integrity, your values. You can't control the weather, but you can build a roof. You can't control their reactions, but you can anchor your response. And the more you do this, let them go. Let yourself stay. You begin to feel lighter. Your mind softens. Your nervous system calms. You begin to trust that you are safe in your own skin, even if the world misjudges the shape of it. Because emotional sovereignty is not about indifference. It's not, I don't care. It's, I care deeply, but I no longer betray myself to earn belonging. This is maturity. This is clarity. This is freedom. And it's available to you every day. So the next time you catch yourself spiraling about someone's reaction, pause. Take a breath. Place your hand on your chest and whisper, let them. Let me. Let them do what they will. Let me stay in alignment. Let them misunderstand. Let me stay kind and grounded. Let them walk away. Let me keep walking forward. Because when you stop trying to manage the outside world, you begin to master your inner one. And that, my friend, is when you truly become unstoppable. So here you are. You've walked through the fire of doubt. You've laid down the weight of other people's expectations. You've returned to your body. You've rewritten the voice in your mind. You've dared to express yourself, not for validation, but for liberation. You've practiced showing up as the version of you that already exists in your heart. And finally, you've learned the sacred power of letting go. Let them. Let me. This is no longer about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you've always been. All your life, the world has told you to be smaller, softer, more likable, easier to digest. But you were never meant to be small. You were never meant to be silent. You were never meant to live in reaction to what others might think. You were meant to take up space with grace, to speak with clarity, to love with boundaries, to lead with truth. And now, finally, you're returning to that. This journey has never been about perfection. It's been about permission. The permission to stop performing, to stop apologizing for existing, to stop asking strangers to define your worth. The permission to be wild, to be soft, to be powerful, to be misunderstood, and still okay. To be the kind of human who walks into a room not wondering, do they like me? But asking, do I like the way I showed up today? Because that is the only question that truly matters. Not their opinions, not their approval, not their applause. What matters is your reflection. At the end of the day, what you see in your eyes, what you feel in your chest, what you whisper to yourself before you fall asleep. So let's anchor everything we've explored. You recognize the trap of living for others. You stopped chasing the impossible task of managing their thoughts. You cared for your body as an act of devotion. You softened your inner voice into something loving. You expressed your truth in style, in voice, in presence. You walked into your future by acting as if you're already there. And now, you let go. Let go of control. Let go of shame. Let go of the need to be everything to everyone. And in doing so, You pick something far more precious. You, the real you. Not the polished version. Not the filtered highlight reel. But the deeply human, endlessly becoming, courageous soul that has always been there, quietly waiting for your permission to rise. So let this be your declaration. I will no longer shrink to fit expectations I didn't agree to. I will no longer betray my peace to keep others comfortable. I will no longer wait for someone else to crown me worthy. I am here. I am whole. I am becoming. Let this not be an ending, but a beginning. Because now, the path ahead is yours to walk with boldness, with softness, with truth. Not for them, not for likes, not for applause, but because the greatest gift you can give the world is your unapologetic wholeness. So walk, run, stumble if you must, but never again shrink. The world has enough echoes. What it needs, know, is your voice. And you? You're finally free to speak.